Joe Rogan has become a crucial figure in this U.S. political process, where the new elected president is preparing to become a new leader of the government. And because of Rogan's strong stances and unmatched influence on young generations or on people who are at the center of the political spectrum, a lot of politicians just hate Joe Rogan. Because Biden lost the office, Rogan has been in big conflicts since he had unparalleled influence over people who voted and therefore helped to bring this situation where U.S. is being transformed in front of our eyes. Then, Rogan responded to mainstream politicians and showed how they took his words out of context and blew many situations out of proportion, and how these things that were said about him is simply not truth. But why Rogan is being hated by politicians and media? Well, let's explain everything. So Joe Rogan revealed on X and on his podcast how he is against a lot of decisions that have been made by previous government, and he is rooting for new administration to transform the government. That's why Rogan made few moves, including endorsing new elect president. And because of these moves, Rogan has been hated left and right by a lot of influential politicians in the USA. Since he is not deeply involved in any decisions with the new administration, and he does not want to be involved in the politics, it's tough to criticize him, but still, everywhere you look in the US politics, influential politicians and media just hate Rogan, especially since Rogan is in a very good relationship with some members of the new administration, including people like Musk, who, for example, recently pressured Republicans to cancel a funding deal they had agreed with Democrats, causing the country to be at the brink of shutdown right before Christmas. So this widespread criticism that Rogan faces is because of his strong relationships with people like Musk, Trump, and others. And this situation is not very convenient for many politicians. But we have to point out that Rogan was not always hated by everyone. There was a time when politicians and mainstream media admired Joe Rogan, viewing him as a relatable, open-minded, and influential voice in modern discourse. His podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, was celebrated for providing a platform for diverse perspectives, fostering nuanced discussions, and attracting millions of engaged listeners. It all started when Rogan launched his podcast in 2009, and by January 2013, episodes began appearing on YouTube as well. Later that year, as the number of episodes increased each week, the workload became too much for his original producer, Redban. Rogan often recorded episodes lasting 6 to 7 hours, which led to hiring Jamie Vernon as a second producer. By January 2015, the podcast had over 11 million listeners, and by October that year, it was getting 16 million downloads per month. One of the podcast's most famous moments came on episode 1169, released on September 6, 2018, with Elon Musk. Episode was so influential that one controversial moment even caused a 9% drop in Tesla's stock value. By April 2019, Rogan announced that the podcast had reached 190 million downloads monthly. In 2019, Joe Rogan became a trending topic on Twitter after hosting Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders on the Joe Rogan Experience. Emma Vigilan, a correspondent for the Young Turks Network, praised Sanders' decision to appear on the show. "Such a smart move by Bernie Sanders' team to have him go on Joe Rogan," she wrote. The interview's format surprised many viewers on Twitter and YouTube. They noted how the extended one-on-one discussion gave Sanders a chance to explain his key political ideas without the frequent interruptions seen in traditional debates. Similarly, Rogan hosted Tulsi Gabbard in May, with that episode accumulating over 2.2 million views. Over the years, the quantity of Joe Rogan Experience episodes steadily grew, peaking in 2019 with 221 episodes. Then Rogan's exclusive deal with Spotify in 2020 expanded his reach beyond YouTube, drawing significant attention to his presence on the platform. Fans appreciated his confidence in discussing a wide range of topics, including woke culture or other important topics, even when his expertise was limited. They noted that his accessible explanations, while often only scratching the surface of complex subjects, resonated with millions of listeners. However, that's when Rogan faced criticism from CNN journalists. Stelter, speaking on CNN, took aim at the podcaster's remarks, stating, "Joe Rogan has come a long way from eating roaches on Fear Factor, but he's still skilled at provoking strong reactions." He added, "The fear about woke culture, about an overreaction, is pervasive, especially in right-wing media." Stelter also commented, "Rogan's recent comments on one level are just comical. Hearing this rich and famous guy express worries that, even though he's paid to talk for a living, he's going to be silenced in the future." However, small hating and criticism started increasing after 2022, when a journalist, Amy Westervelt, criticized Joe Rogan for promoting climate change denial on his podcast. At the same time, Spotify faced widespread criticism for its association with Rogan. Critics accused Rogan's podcast of spreading misinformation, prompting backlash against the platform. Musicians like Neil Young and Joni Mitchell protested by removing their music from Spotify, arguing that the company was supporting the dissemination of harmful falsehoods by continuing to host Rogan's show. The controversy placed Spotify in a challenging position. As the exclusive host of Rogan's podcast, they had invested $100 million into the partnership. However, they were under growing pressure to address concerns about misinformation. Spotify's CEO, Daniel Ek, defended the decision to keep Rogan on the platform, emphasizing the value of creator expression and fostering open debate. Rogan himself responded to the criticism, acknowledging the possibility of mistakes. "I do not know if they're right," he explained, adding, "I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a person who sits down and talks to people and has conversations with them. Do I get things wrong? Absolutely, I get things wrong. But I try to correct them. I'm interested in telling the truth. I'm interested in finding out what the truth is." Stelter responded to the situation by saying, "He is now apologizing, and we're going to find out if that's enough for Spotify, the company that has an exclusive distribution deal with him. Jim, this is all coming to light." At that time, Rogan was already widely hated by various politicians, both in the US or internationally. So many articles came out where politicians and media criticized him for his outspoken nature. And suddenly, when in November 2024, Rogan shared his political preferences and started revealing his political opinions, many politicians started hating on him even more. This happened when Rogan declared that it was time to tell the truth about what he thought on the political environment and declared his endorsement of Trump. Various political figures and media outlets started denouncing Rogan due to his political endorsements and controversial statements. For example, Australian Broadcasting Corporation, ABC Chair Kim Williams, labeled Rogan's influence as deeply repulsive, accusing him of exploiting people's vulnerabilities for entertainment and policy manipulation. Rogan responded dismissively to Williams's remarks. Additionally, Ukrainian boxer Vladimir Klitschko accused Rogan of echoing Russian propaganda. Also, Tim Waltz criticized Joe Rogan over comments Rogan made regarding the First Amendment and misinformation. Waltz argued that free speech should not extend to protecting hate speech or deliberate misinformation, particularly in the digital age, where such content can have widespread consequences. Rogan, in response, accused Waltz of promoting censorship under the guise of combating misinformation. Despite many politicians expressing disdain for Joe Rogan due to his opinions and platform, his endorsement proved pivotal in swaying public opinion during a critical election. Initially dismissed by the political elite, Rogan's reach among independent voters and younger demographics turned the tide for the administration he supported. His authentic, unfiltered approach resonated with voters who felt alienated by traditional political rhetoric. In the end, the party he endorsed capitalized on his influence, securing a giant victory and demonstrating the undeniable impact of Rogan's voice in modern politics. And as you can see, Rogan has many years of conflicts with many influential politicians, which is a reason why they hate him. And that's it for today.